Hello and welcome. My name is Connie Douglas and I am from Great Stamping with Connie. And I would like to welcome you to, that's fancy. It's the very first night for a new crafting event that I'm hoping to host every week, every Monday from 7:30 to 8:30. And we will make all different kinds of projects. We'll use some different tools, perhaps a technique or a fancy fold, something a little bit different, something a little bit stepped up, and something that's fancy. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you like what we're going to make. It's a Christmas card, but it's a little bit more special than some. Hi, Mary. I'm so glad you're watching. I don't know how many people have heard about this event because it's the very first one, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. And I have something a little bit fancy. So Mary likes to make fancy cards. So this one is hopefully a little bit up your alley. Okay, I am just going to turn this down to, whoops, that's not exactly what I wanted to do. Okay. Technology, still learning. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. All righty. So I think we are all set. So this is the card that we're going to be making tonight. And you might be looking at that thinking, okay, that's kind of nice. There's some embossing on the back. There's a die cut. Well, that's nice. Is it fancy? It's a little bit fancy, I suppose, but the fancy is hiding right now. So the fancy is on the inside of the card. And it's going to be a little bit tricky for me to show you this in all its glory. But this card, you can see it has a hole in the center of it here. And that is where you can put a tea light. I would strongly recommend you use a battery operated tea light. But when you do, and this may also be there, you can see, hopefully you can see that it is glowing through there. So that's pretty fancy. Anyway, that's what we are going to make this evening. It's not overly difficult, few steps, but let's get started and I will walk you through it. So on this card, I used the Giving Gifts dies, and these are those dies. There's 4 that cut out pieces kind of like this. The Santa with the reindeer is on the front, and this is the snowflake one. And then there's also some Christmas decorations and some pumpkins. And then there's some other dies that you can use to embellish your projects. So that's what I used for this card. So for the second one, I thought we would change it up a little bit and use the So Many Snowflakes dies. So these are a bunch of snowflake dies. Who knew? So this is the big one that we're going to use to create our windows where our tea light will shine through. And then we might use some of these others to make some snowflake embellishments for the card as well. So this die actually cuts out a hole. I sort of thought about using it. This is just one that I cut for another project, but you could put this on the center of your card as well. It would leave quite a large opening for your tea light to shine through, and that would probably work really well also, but I opted for the snowflake for this card. So that's what we'll do for this one, and maybe I'll give this a try for the next one. All righty. So to make this card, I need to bring in a few supplies. So we have a piece of balmy blue cardstock, and it is 11 by 4 1/4, and it is scored at 5 1/2. Okay, and then we have a piece of Misty Moonlight, and it is also 11 by 4 1/4, but it is scored at 2 1/2, 5 1/2, and 8 1/2. And okay, so there's 4 score lines on that one, and that's what gives you this fold. Okay. All right, then we also have a piece of Misty Moonlight. This is 5 1/4 by 4, and I embossed this with the textile embossing folder just to add a little bit of texture to it. That is going to go on the card front. We have 2 pieces of basic white cardstock, and they are 3 inches by 4 1/4. I have a piece of basic white that is 3/4 by 3 1/4 for my sentiment. And then I have a piece of balmy blue that is 3 1/2 by 1, and that will be the frame for that. Well, as I mentioned, we'll die cut some snowflakes for the front, so I don't have any other cardstock for the front. And then I have 2 pieces of vellum. On this card, I had cut the vellum 2 3/4 by 4. I don't know whether you can kind of see that I've glued it in there. So there's still a little Misty Moonlight border there. The die that we're using this evening is a little bit bigger, it's wider, and so the vellum cut at 2 3/4 was just wide enough, so I cut some other pieces at 2 7/8, so it's just a little bit wider, but it will still fit in the gap that we need it to fit in. So clear some of these things to the side, and I am going to bring in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which of course means I am going to jiggle the camera, I suspect, but we'll see what we can do here. So I checked the die. The die would go through. I forgot that my cardstock is kind of wide, but that's okay. We'll use this guy later. We'll just pack him up for a moment. And because I was just thinking I should just be prepared. Once a girl guide, always a girl guide, maybe. Look, I already have a piece that I have die cut. So I cut this on the full size Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we're good to go. So I will fold this on the score lines, and then you will be able to see a little bit easier how the how these die cuts are right in the center of this cardstock. So a little bit careful with my folding since I've already done my die cutting. So I'm just folding. The center is a mountain and the 2 edges are valley folds. And then you can see that we have the 2 snowflakes cut out there. So the card base just gets folded in the center. And then this goes in the middle, but because you want it to fold, we need to leave about a 1/2 inch on the edge here for this, so that it can poke up in the middle. So we'll leave a 1/2 inch on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I'm not going to attach this yet. I think I want to put the vellum on the back before I do that, or it will be a little bit tricky to get that inside. So, okay. So I am just going to, I think I'm going to use liquid glue on this so that I can get it, I can go all the way across the top and the bottom. You have to be a little bit careful when you're gluing vellum because it will show through, but this is on the back inside, so no one's going to see it. Go down here a little bit and down this side. And that way I don't have glue right in the center area because this comes very close to the edge. So this way we won't have glue that goes through the holes in our card. Hopefully. Okay, and then the second one, see, I'm doing it again. Ordinary vellum, but I want to glue it, so I turn it over to the back. I don't know whether everybody does that or not. It's crazy. I do it with cardstock. I do it with vellum. Doesn't really matter. It's just the habit. You like it already. Just wait. It'll get better. Hopefully. Okay. We'll put this piece down and give it a push. So you can see how when you add glue to vellum, it does show. And that's why if we're doing it on the top layer of a card, we always make sure we only put the glue where we're going to put something else on top. But so now, I don't know whether you can tell, you can see my fingers behind it, but there is a layer of vellum on there. I'm going to turn it to the back again, and we can add adhesive. I'm going to put adhesive down the whole edge because this is going to be standing up and moving around and stuff a little bit more than just a regular card. I want to make sure it holds really well. So I will just put that on there and then bring in the card base. And as I said, I am going to put this edge about 1/2 inch from the outside. Did I do? I think half an inch will do. Okay, so that's at 2. This is 2.5. So I just need to line up with those. Looks like my cardstock is not cut quite right. We may need to do a little bit of trimming. And then on this edge, I'll just put this down here, and this will go 1/2 inch. In here. Well. Now we have extra. Probably should have put some adhesive in there just to hold it because it kind of opens up a little bit. Okay, so here we go. Here's tonight's tricky part. I'm gonna try and get inside here. See, this is this is what you get when you do things new for the first time, that you've only made the card once before and you didn't write down all the detailed notes on exactly what you did and how. I'm going to put some liquid glue in here because that will be easier to get in. Put some on that side. So the moral of the story is that you should put adhesive on the whole section, probably. But we're card makers. We can fix anything. Yeah, that actually will be just fine. Don't anybody panic. Okay. But as I mentioned, my layer cutting was a little bit off. So I am just going to open this and trim it off a little bit so that it is all the same size. There we go. Oh, oh, I guess I need to do the whole thing, don't I? I should get the trimmer going. Oh, I can show you lots of ways to fix mistakes, Mary. Yes. I'm not even cutting this straight now. It's okay. We'll get it. We can fix it. Like I said, we're crafters. We can do anything, right? There are no mistakes. There are only opportunities. That's what I tell everybody. So I need to live by that, I think. You just have to bear with me for a minute while I trim this. Just turn this over so I can see what tails I'm creating here and hopefully get things lined up. There. And look, no one will ever know, except that I have this shred of paper here. We'll just put that in the bin and no one will see it. No one will know. Life is grand. I'm just going to give this an extra squish with the bone folder just to make sure my creases are all nice. There. And now we have the basic structure of our card is ready. Okay. So we need to add some decorations though, of course. So this is going to go onto the front. But I think we will cut, see, now we get to use the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So we will cut some snowflakes from, oh, what snowflakes do we want to put on this? We have some on there. I don't think I want them too large, do I? Not sure. I pulled out, wasn't sure what I wanted, so I pulled out some balmy blue cardstock, and I have some silver from the silver specialty paper that we have. This is brushed silver, so it's and this is the shiniest piece. So I pulled that one out. I also have one of these iridescent snowflakes from the fall mini catalog, which is no, iridescent. Anyway, I was thinking I would put that on the inside of the card, perhaps. I suppose I haven't actually decided. Let's cut some snowflakes and then we can see what we're gonna play with things and figure out what we're gonna do here. I think I'll just throw some stuff onto here and we'll see what we get. That guy down. Yeah, we'll put this guy on. We'll add a small one. What the heck? We got another small one. We got space on there. Let's throw him on as well. Okay, and I'm going to put my second cutting plate on and put this into the die cutting machine. Okay, so that's my goal. Yes. Okay. See, there's all this talk about this thing being difficult to feed, and sometimes it is, and other times it just slides right in. I haven't quite figured out what the trick was. Somebody told me to put it on an angle, and I thought that was the cat's pajamas, and it was all working well, but now I'm not as certain. in a minute. I may have to resort to the big machine, but let's see if we can just get this to catch. Don't. If I do it this way. So all the other times when I tried this with these plates on an angle, it fed in beautifully. So I'm not sure what I'm doing differently tonight, but it's not cooperating with me. Oh, there we go. See, I haven't figured it out, but there we go. Now you get to stare at the top of my hand and watch the camera jiggle. Okay. Have some snowflakes. I forgot to bring over my dye brush, so hopefully these come out okay. I do have a pokey tool that we may have to poke some of the little bits out with, but the dye brush is awesome for getting things out quickly and easily. But we'll just use this for tonight. Oh, little bits. See, the beauty of die cutting snowflakes is you get to make a mess all over your desk. There's going to be little snowflake bits everywhere. And that's why the cats don't come down here. No cats in the craft studio because there's just way too many things to play with in here. So, and then these little bits go everywhere when they knock the bins over. Okay, so there's some snowflakes. I think we should cut a couple of silver ones as well, just so we have some blue and some silver. So let's, this one, oh, I don't think that one will fit, but this one will fit. And this one will fit for sure. Run these through. And look at that, first time, nice and easy. Get ready to shake again. Sorry, hope I don't make anybody seasick watching that. Might be enough snowflakes. Poked out. They're very shiny, which is just fine with me. Nothing wrong with shiny snowflakes on a Christmas card. So Mary, did you get all your cards made? All your poinsettia cards made on the weekend? Mary was working on poinsettia cards, a whole bunch of them, and there was many steps involved. Thankfully, Mary is a very patient woman. Okay, so what do we think? Actually, maybe I'll bring in my sentiment at this point, and we can get that stamped. And then we'll have everything that we're going to put onto the card front. We can see how we want to do it. Oh, your cards are finished. That is awesome. People, if you get a card, a Christmas card from Mary, you are a very special and lucky person because her cards are awesome and a ton of work, but thankfully she loves making them, and I'm sure everybody that gets them loves receiving them because they are beautiful. Okay, whoops. There we go. So we have Snowflake Wishes for a Merry Christmas, and that is from the Snowflake Wishes stamp set, which is the stamp set that coordinates with these so many snowflakes dies that we've been using. And they are in the annual catalog. They were available last year and they are back again this year, but they're in the annual catalog. So don't be looking in the fall mini for those. You won't find them. Okay, there we go. I knew I had cut a piece for this, so I'm just going to attach this. There we go. Okay, and then we just need to figure out what we want to do with all these snowflakes. I should have put adhesive sheets on these. That would have made them really easy to adhere. Our adhesive sheets are fabulous. They turn die cuts into stickers. I don't really care for this one. I don't think I want him on there. And I don't know where I want my sentiment. Okay, I'm open to thoughts and suggestions here. I could put that. My thought was that I would just put random snowflakes all over, and then the sentiment would just sort of plunk into the middle somewhere. I'm almost wondering though if we kind of need one more silver snowflake. Just add one more snowflake. What do we think? One more silver one? And we have 6. I don't know whether an even number is a good thing or a bad thing. In embellishments, they always say use an odd number, but I think I want to cut another one and then we can see. I guess I could bring in that piece that's left is likely not big enough anyway. I could cut one of these big ones if I find where the die is. I think that was this one. So this is just under 2 inches. So let's cut a 2-inch piece of this. There we go. How are we doing for time? It's not even 8 o'clock yet. We're okay. I have an hour to get this project done. And if that's not enough, I shouldn't be doing it. But it'll be enough. We will get it done. Lots of time to play and create. Oh, you like what I have? Oh dear, I don't know where that was. Okay, well, I'm going to cut one more and then we'll see. And maybe just to be wild and crazy, because I have a whole piece of silver foil in here, we're going to throw this guy on and cut another one of him as well while we're at it. So if it doesn't go on this card, it'll go on another card. It'll go on the card with the other snowflake die cut that I said I was going to use on the next card. or it will go into here. My bin of miscellaneous Christmas bits that haven't been used that I cut, because sometimes I'm just cutting things and you just have extras. So I have a bin that I keep those in. And then every now and again I reach in there and I make it's my bits and bytes cards. Every handful is different. If I do more die cuts, then I get to have more bits and pieces messing up my desk. So I'm just gonna get these out of the way. I will bring this back in, and let's see. So we have one of those, and one of those, maybe a big one of these down here. Maybe if I do this diagonally. I cut the wrong one. Oh well, that's how it goes. Not that it's wrong, it's just not the one I was intending to cut. We have two of these. Maybe I need another blue one instead of this one. It shouldn't really be this difficult. But maybe we'll just do two different kinds of snowflakes. Where's my blue cardstock? And this is the one that I want. I don't really need all of this cardstock running through. Take that piece off. I think I'm done die cutting now. I'm going to say I'm done, and I hopefully won't be jiggling you around anymore this evening. Okay. One last try here. So we've got a larger one and a smaller one, and just smaller one, and larger one. It's just not grabbing me the way I would like it to. Maybe what I need to do is find what I did with this one. Maybe we need this on the card front. Put him on with some others. Maybe with some just blue ones. Where'd my sentiment go? My sentiment at the bottom. Okay, maybe like that. And tucked in. And the small one. What do you think? Maybe that's it. What do we think? Is that kind of working? I'm thinking lots of choices. Yeah, too many choices. I think that's the problem. It's better when you only have one or two things. You don't have as many choices. Okay, let's, I think I'm going to go with that. I guess if you have so many choices and many of them are looking okay, that it means that that any of them would do, that none of them are really wrong. Possibly. Okay. And if it doesn't look quite right, we'll just throw embellishments all over it, and that will fix everything. Okay, so I am going to bring in some dimensionals because I want to pop up some of the things on the front of this. So and pop up this guy. Now, if you're going to put a dimensional on here, it might be just a little bit too long. I'm just going to trim him a tiny bit so that he doesn't show through. And then perhaps these we will put down flat. So because this is going to be popped up, I can put it down first, and then I can still tuck the snowflake underneath. So put this on, and then we can see where we want to glue the other snowflakes. So that will work about there. I'm going to put this guy on up here. Then, if you're gluing small pieces and you didn't use the adhesive sheets, you can put some glue onto your silicone mat. And then I use, this is just a makeup sponge, but any kind of a sponge, and you just put it in there and just pat it around. You'll put on a very thin layer, so you don't need to worry about it oozing out around the edges of this. It'll give you good coverage. Oh, maybe we should put it on top. I think we can do it like that. I think it'll be okay. I'll put this guy up into the corner. There, I think that is what I wanted, or I like it at least. Hopefully you do too. Okay. You know, I could pop that all onto here as well, or we could just go flat. The card is thick in the middle, so if you are going to mail it, you do want to be just a little bit careful about how many dimensionals you use in other places, because there's a lot of cardstock folded into the center. So we'll just put this down flat onto here. I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, and it sort of, it wows in the middle there. It bows, whatever. There's a bump right there where all the cardstock is. I'm going to put some embellishments on the front, but I'm going to do that after. We're going to work on the inside for a moment. So I had these two pieces of white cardstock. One of them is just going to go right on here. I must have cut this blue cardstock small. Well, it says it's 4 1/4. I don't know why everything else is longer than 4 1/4. I just bring in my trimmer and fix these before I glue these down. Just a tiny bit, but it hopefully will have it, allow it to line up a little bit better. When you have just a very small piece that you're trying to take off, it's a good idea to start your blade somewhere in the middle of the paper. If you start right at the bottom or the top, when it's very, very narrow, it's really easy to smush that little bit, and then you don't get a nice clean cut. But if you start anywhere but somewhere through there, then you get a much cleaner cut when it's just a very narrow bit that you're trying to take off. Okay, so I'm just going to use some liquid glue on this and get that attached. This one is just going to go over the whole thing, lining up with the outside card base edge. Okay, and then this one we will decorate a little bit because you only need one side to shine. So I have in my foam mat, that's a pierce mat or half a pierce mat, and I just covered it with some paper for times like this where I will stamp over the edges. So I am using Misty Moonlight and Balmy Blue ink, and I think that I will do some Balmy Blue Snowflakes to start, and I'm just stamping randomly here. When you do this sort of thing, you want to start with your largest stamp and then move down in size, because it's easier to fit things in if you work down in size than if you start with something smaller and then you are trying to fit the bigger ones in. Just add in some of these tiny ones, fill in some of the blank areas. There we go. So that is all decorated. And since we didn't use all of our silver snowflakes before, maybe we could add a couple of those to this as well. Just see how well they will show up on here. Let's get this piece attached. Let's use the liquid glue again. And again, I'm just going to go right to the edge of the card base and adhere that. And where did my silver? Oh, Snowflakes, oh, they're hiding under there. These would almost be nice popped up, but there's not very much to pop with them. Could actually put one down there. You'd see that one probably better than you see these with the busy background. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. So bring this back in, get some glue onto these. Hi, Terry. Hadn't noticed you come in. You didn't slam the door. We're doing things that are fancy tonight. which means you get to watch Connie, you know, goof stuff up and see how she fixes things. You know, small fun moment where you get to see real crafting in action, and it doesn't always go exactly as you think it might. But it's all turning out just fine, so it's all good in the end, as you well know. So, there we go. Okay, and we will go back and add some gems. Almost didn't want to fold there for a moment. Just going to give it a big squish on the back now that we have everything in there. Okay. We'll put some gems on the front snowflakes. So these are the blue adhesive backed gems. And there's some that are balmy blue, and then there's some that are a little bit darker. So not sure. Maybe the darker ones will work well. Look, I get to use up this one little gem that's on this little itty bitty piece of paper there. Finally use him. Right into the middle there. And one on each of these. I think we can use the big ones on this too as well. There we go. Okay. So, you know, sort of had my doubts there for a few minutes, but I think that has turned out okay. Yes. And then, whoopsie. Oh, here's another tip. Don't put your sponge glue side down on your paper. Why does everything always go jam side down? Was probably me. Okay, so now let's just see. Got my tea light again. See if we can see how that would. Little tricky to show on camera, but trust me, it glows in there. I'll set it up here. You won't be able to see this on camera, but yes, I can see it glowing through the snowflake. So it does. You'll just have to believe me. You don't have to, but you should, because it does. So alrighty, so there's our card. So looks kind of like an ordinary snowflake Christmas card on the front, which is lovely. I think it, you know, for all the playing around with all the snowflakes, I think it turned out okay. But when you open it up, woo, that's fancy. Okay, let me just bring this back. That spotlight, remove this one. There we go. Okay, so I'm back, and we got through it. Look at that. It didn't take the full hour. It only took 50 minutes. I have 10 minutes extra. Look at me. I didn't really know whether it would take a full hour or not, but I planned a full hour. Anyway, thank you so much for coming by. If you are watching the replay, please do leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the tea light holder card that I have shared this evening. And watch for me every Monday at 7:30, and we'll do something else that's perhaps fancy. If there's anything that you'd like to see, don't make it too complicated for me, but you're more than welcome to leave me some suggestions. Just put a comment in there and I will check those out. And then maybe next week I'll tell you why I can't possibly do what you asked. Or maybe we will do it. You never know. Anyway, I'm glad you stopped by. If you need any supplies to make this card or anything else, you can always find me at greatstampingwithconnie.com. And I will see you next time. Have a great evening, everyone. Bye for now.